Ever since Destiny 2 Echoes launched, there's been a question. What game's better, Warframe or Destiny? Well, actually the question's been around a lot longer, but it's become more relevant now. So I thought that we'd go and have a deep dive about each game, strengths, weaknesses, and what they're each about. Now, the answer to this question is going to be opinionated. It's going to be based on what you like and what you're looking for in a game. However, I'm going to present all the evidence that I can to give you the best option. To answer that, we're going to talk about 3 different categories: the story, the gameplay, and value for money. If you enjoyed the video, please do consider subscribing, it helps me out a lot. If not, maybe share it around with someone who might like my content, as it will help the channel grow and help us grow a larger community. Let's kick things off with the stories. And I'll be honest, I have to give this one to Warframe, as the story I enjoy more. While I've definitely put more hours into Destiny, the story is a lot more all over the place. And now, more than ever, as a Destiny player, we're asking what's next. Originally, Destiny was about fighting the darkness, but the developers didn't know what the darkness was. Then each expansion we faced a great big threat before defeating them in the story mission, though there are a few exceptions to that rule, such as Oryx in the raid. We don't even know what the definitive big bad was until Witch Queen came out, and we only got about 2 minutes of the witness in that expansion, in a cutscene of all things. In Lightfall, I'm willing to say we see even less. And the next expansion with the final shape, we've suddenly defeated the witness and the big bad is gone from the story. There is a lot more to the story, such as the characters and the depth, and things like the Hive Pantheon, which are currently being explored in Destiny 2 episode Heresy. However, unless I'm going into a deep lore dive, you're not going to know that. They tend to keep the larger plot of Destiny outside of the game. However, they're starting to implement things more and more, like how the Books of Sorrow are now an interactable thing within the Nether activity in Destiny 2. Now let's move on to Warframe's story. And I will say, it is still a bit messy with Warframe as well. Specifically, the starting quest. The way Warframe presents its story is in a act system, or at least with the 1999 update, they have presented it in a new act system. So to explain the act system a little bit, there's 4 acts, and I'll go through them and what I think of them as I go. Act 1 is called Awakening. This is more of your beginning and introduction to the world. This is a little bit messy, but it's also streamlined in a way. It's hard to explain it without you playing it. It has a few quests that introduce you to frames and introduce you to allied factions and enemy factions. Arc 2 is the War Within saga. This will include the best parts of the story in my opinion, which include the Second Dream, the War Within, the Sacrifice would end out the War Within saga. These quests are beautiful, and I will say that about every quest. If you pay attention to them, they all fit perfectly together and fit great. Act 3 is the New War saga, and possibly the biggest saga. It includes the New War, as well as the Nama quest lines, and fixing the system after the Sentient War. Act 4 is the Void War saga. This is currently ongoing as far as I can tell. It does include the new update, Warframe 1999, as well as the Angels of Zeraman. This seems to be the focus on the Man in the Wall, who is the witness figure, but for the Warframe universe. Warframe also seems to use their storytelling to tell you the story of the actual frames. So each frame has very, very dedicated and detailed lore, which you can see in a lot of the frame specific quests. Not every Warframe has a quest, but the ones who do, it goes really in depth with what happened to them, why they were made, things like that. Because the creator of the Warframes, Ballas, basically tortured every single one of them. The lore is a little fucked up at times, but you know what? It's cool. This is in opposition to Destiny's lore, where it's a lot more child-friendly, I would say. or at least it doesn't deal with things like torture and more adult themes. Like one of the quests in Warframe, the Jade Shadows quest, literally has a woman who was turned into a frame while she was pregnant, and she gives birth, and I don't know what the fuck goes on in that quest, but there's a baby Warframe that's never been seen before, and it's like, you know, who the fuck comes up with this shit? I could go on for hours and hours about both games' lore and stories and what I think of them, but this is a more streamlined video, and I want to get to the gameplay section because I think that's the most valuable thing in this video. So if you want a dedicated lore / story analysis where I only talk about the story and the deeper lore, please do let me know in the comments, as well as do subscribe because it's going to help me out greatly if you do. Now, we're going to move on from the story and get into the real meat and potatoes of this video, which is going to be the gameplay sections. So, we're going to kick it off with Warframe instead of Destiny this time. Warframe's gameplay at its most basic level is a fast-paced third-person shooter with parkour elements. That's the short description. In reality, Warframe offers you everything at once, is the best way that I will put that. You have your standard type of missions, such as defense missions, execution missions, where you just go around killing things. It offers you all of that. But then it offers you more in things like the Deviri circuit, which has you going round over round infinitely as long as you want, where things level up and you deal more or take more damage as you go through the levels. And that scales infinitely until they hit the highest possible level that you can. There's also other systems such as the Railjack system, which is space combat. Like, I never thought a game like Warframe would give you space combat of all things. They also offer new and open world areas where you can run around, hunt animals, fish. You can fish, of all things. Not only that, but it has a very, very in-depth gameplay system for things like your warframes, your weapons, and the mod system, which I still don't fully understand to this day, but we'll get to that in a minute. First, I want to talk about the warframes. Now, to explain what a warframe is basically your class. You have 4 main abilities that you gain as you level up the frame up to level 30, which is the max. As you increase your level and unlock your abilities, your original abilities, so your first and second abilities, will also level up from 1 to 3. In addition to this, the mod system, and this is the big bit that I want to get through with the Warframe section. The mod system consists of what I would call cards, which do different things. Basic one would be increased health. There's also things like increased shield, increased armor, and more intricate things where if you do something with a certain ability, you gain this much of electric damage increase. This mod system also extends to all of the weapons. However, the weapons have their own unique mods, so you have hundreds and hundreds of mods for each system. Now, a mod, as I just explained, does something unique. It also has 2 other unique functions. The first one being a little symbol. I think it's called an affinity. Basically, you can do this thing with your frame called formering, which you can also do on weapons. When you give a former, you can select one of the mod slots to gain an affinity, and when you put a mod that matches that affinity, it only costs half the amount that the mod originally would. This is huge because that way you can get more mods and higher level mods on your weapons and frames for half the price. If you don't match the polarity, or the affinity as it's called, then you will increase the cost, is the way that they do it. So matching decreases and mismatching increases. I mean, the other way around. Additionally, when you former something, it resets the level. So if you former your warframe, it resets the level and you'll have to restart leveling that frame, which also decreases the mod capacity slightly. Additionally, you have your overall rank called Mastery rank. Now, with Mastery rank, the way you gain it is by leveling things. Weapons, armor, anything like that. Or not weapons, armor. Weapons and frames, I should say. Additionally, once you have leveled a frame, because you can get multiple of frames, you do not get Mastery outside of that first instance of leveling it up. Now, this is just the basic stuff of the Warframe gameplay. There is so much more. For example, once you beat the second Dream Quest, you get access to your operator, who is another character and another playstyle that you can do. When you play the War Within quest, you can actually walk around as your operator. Additionally, with the new war, they introduce another character called the Drifter, who I'm not going to spoil who that is because I think you should go play and experience it, but it adds another layer to the operator system, as well as there's schools that give your operator different abilities and a specific weapon called an amp that is for your operator. Now, moving over to Destiny's gameplay systems, it's a lot simpler compared to Warframe, and it also has its own unique takes. Obviously, it's a first-person shooter. That's the main difference, and that's the biggest difference between the two games. If we're talking the mod system, Destiny's is a lot simpler, where you just have 10 energy on an armor piece, and your things cost 3 power or 4 power. There's no way to really decrease that, and it gives you exactly how much it says. For example, 10 resilience, which gives you more damage reduction. The biggest loadout difference between Warframe and Destiny is most likely the perk system that the weapons roll with, as well as the random rolls of weapons, where you can't really force what perks a weapon has outside of the crafting system. Now, to talk about Destiny's activities, I do think Destiny has slightly better activities. I do have more time with them, however, I think Destiny, with its mission structure as well as its end game, is slightly better than Warframe's, but that is, again, debatable, because I do like some things about the Warframe endgame, but I also really enjoy the Destiny endgame with raids, dungeons, and that type of content. Now, leveling in Destiny is a very different beast. Instead of having normal levels, you have light levels. They aren't gained by XP unless we're talking about artifact power, which is a bonus power level. Instead, you do activities with milestone markers, which are the little yellow markers, which will give you, if they're powerful, they give you a +1 or +2 drop. Pinnacles will typically be a 3, maybe 4 drop, as well as within armor, you can infuse to higher levels, which means you can keep the gear you like and you don't have to change armor every single time there's an increase, which is nice. However, with Destiny, there is a downside to where content is actually removed. For example, every single season, or not every single season, every year at the start of the new year, the previous year's seasons are removed from the game and you lose access to that content which you did pay for, which I hate, but also considering the file size that they claim to want to keep down, it does make some sense. On the other hand, Warframe's delivery of quests and content is much better in my opinion, where everything is 100% free. You don't have to pay any money to Warframe if you don't want to. You can earn every single frame, every weapon, every mod for free. You can pay to have them quicker, but it's not necessary. Now, that was a long section that I could go way more in depth in, but I want to wrap up this video sooner rather than later. So we're going to move on to the final section, and what is going to be the shorter section of the video, the value of money. I'm going to start out with Destiny here, only because I played it more. I've played Destiny since Destiny 1's beginning, and originally the value for money was pretty good with Destiny 1. However, we are talking about Destiny 2, And I do have to talk about the fact that they have taken out content that you pay for, and you don't really get any compensation for the removal. For example, recently it's been revealed that the Red War campaign, the original Destiny 2 campaign, they can't access that. They don't have the tools or ability to go in and play it or use it or put it in the game. It's just gone. This is content that I paid $60 for at the time. The same with the Forsaken expansion and Shadowkeep, which are both now free, as well as having Forsaken's campaign removed, but also destinations, because usually, or at least previously in Destiny, destinations came with the expansion, and they've removed destinations. I think we've had 4 or 5 destinations removed in total, and you can't play those areas anymore. But then there's situations like Season of Plunder, which was a while ago, where the seasonal mission areas, which you pay for the season by the way, were the lost sectors of a removed destination backwards, which is kind of a slap in the face considering I paid for that content and I got nothing back for it, but now you're charging me for the same content again. This is opposed to how Warframe does everything, which, like I said before, every single quest, weapon, Warframe, every mod, every mission is free. The only requirements are time commitments, which can be a lot, but I'm not paying $60 for a quest that I'm going to lose in a year or in 3 months. This is why I think Warframe does have a better money value. However, it does take you longer to get there. And the only reason I say it's better money value is because it's free. It's a free game where everything is free. So it's obviously going to win in the money for value section. Now, I've said everything that I wanted to about this, and I hope that you can take this and decide which one you want to play. But ultimately, and this is something you need to remember, you're not limited to playing one game. You can play Destiny and Warframe if you want. I do, and I highly suggest it because they each offer very unique and interesting things for you to do in the game. Destiny has a fantastic new player experience, or not fantastic, but as a new player, you have so much to do right out of the box. If you're paying for the Legacy expansions, which gives you everything for about $50. Warframe, on the other hand, has a great new player experience. The issue is once you get out of that new player experience and you're kind of left to go do what you want, you get a bit aimless, unless you're following a quest line, and even then it's still a little bit aimless. But ultimately it comes down to what you want to play out of the game. If you want hours and hours of grinding non-stop with mindless fun, I would suggest Warframe. If you want a great shooter experience, I would suggest Destiny. Now, that's it for the video, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. I know I have enjoyed making this video, and it's been a long time in the running. Please do subscribe and like, it helps me out a lot. If you didn't like the video, please leave in the comments why you didn't like it so I can improve my future videos, as well as sharing it with someone that you think will enjoy the content as well. Until next time.